Claire. The first bill up is Senate Study Bill 1159. Senator Sinclair, do you have a subcommittee report?
I do. Your subcommittee of myself, Senator Goodwin, and Senator Quirmbach recommend passage with Senator Quirmbach not signing.
Senator Sinclair, you are in order for opening comments.
Thank you. Senate Study Bill 1159 is the 2022 school funding bill. The bill contains 4 provisions for funding for our K-12 education system. First, it adds a 2.2% supplemental state aid increase and continues the property tax replacement payments, freezing the local portion to $750, continuing that. Second, it provides an additional move towards eliminating the inequities between state cost per pupil and district cost per pupil by adding an additional $15 to the base state cost per pupil. Third, the bill takes the task of continuing that commitment to buying down all districts for transportation to the statewide average due to increased fuel costs and other transportation issues. That average has gone up, and so there is an additional appropriation to buy all those districts down to the statewide average. And finally, it establishes a qualified instruction funding supplement of $65 per pupil for one-time dollars to combat the issues that have faced school districts through COVID, such as additional cleaning, connectivity, substitutes, and the like. That would conclude my opening comments.
Thank you, Senator Sinclair. Are there any other senators who would like to speak on the bill? The chair recognizes Senator Selsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know about you. One of the biggest disappointments that I've had since arriving at the Senate was the lack of investment in our public schools, and this bill just continues that horrid tradition. We always have excuses from members of this committee on the other side of the aisle. We don't have enough money. We have other pressing priorities, are 2 that I hear often. Well, this year we have enough money. We have about $700 million sitting in a rainy day fund, and it's a rainy day. It's pouring. There are many, many Iowans who have spoken out on this today in the subcommittee, which was just an hour ago. Iowans from all over the state tuned in to speak up about the lack of funding that has been happening for more than 10 years, but especially in the last 4 years. Schools are battered by the pandemic, and a district that I represent especially is being surgically removed from pandemic relief funding in this bill. Budgets, and this will roll into the budget eventually, are a moral document. This document doesn't meet the moment. We are shorting our kids, and there are no real solutions in this bill. Instead of coming up with creative solutions and dipping into our reserves, and even working with the other side of the building to come up with language that we can all agree on and that is fair to every student in our state, this is what we get. And it is shameful and embarrassing and pathetic. Would Senator Goodwin yield, please?
Senator Goodwin, will you yield?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
Senator, on the subcommittee today, I noticed you didn't say much, and I wondered if you had any insights from the districts in your Senate district, the school districts, on how they felt about this bill.
I've actually heard nothing from any of the districts. I've actually reached out to several school board members in my home district of Burlington, offered my phone number to their administration, and no one took me up on any conversation, and still have not heard anything through email or phone call.
Have you heard from any parents?
No parents either. Not in my district, no.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Selsey. The chair recognizes Senator Trone Garriott.
I rise in opposition to this bill. Instead of solving problems, this bill creates new ones. So this funding level would be inadequate in a regular year, but applying it to the enrollment numbers suppressed by the pandemic of 2020, we have 7,000 less students across the state enrolled at present. Many of those children will be coming back because the majority of them are redshirted preschoolers and kindergartners. But because we are applying an inadequate level of funding to an artificially suppressed level of enrollment for 2021, that means that 141 school districts will be needing to trigger the budget guarantee. That could be as much as $28 million all across the state that would need to make up the difference out of our local property taxes. So the money is going to come out of taxpayer pockets, but in a year when we have such a significant surplus in our state and a significant rainy day fund, there's really no reason that we should be making taxpayers pay the difference when we could definitely make sure that education was adequately funded at an appropriate level, and we correct for the enrollment numbers that have been suppressed by this pandemic. But another problem that it creates is a little more intentional. Some of the words I heard on the subcommittee were childish, punishment, cruel, revenge. And I heard a lot of emotion from the families of the Des Moines Public School children who are being told loud and clear by the legislature that their children are worth less to the Iowa Senate than all other children because our governor won't reconcile with the Des Moines Public School system. The parents know exactly why this is happening and what's going on. And they ask us, can you please find your revenge in another way, a way that won't hurt 31,000 children, including my own child. And I expected to hear this from those parents in the district, a district that I do represent. But I'm very proud that Iowans from all over the state can see this is not fair and are standing up for Iowa children no matter where they live. It's our constitutional duty to provide equal opportunity to all students. It is not our duty to carry out the governor's grudge against the Des Moines Public Schools. We can do a lot better for Iowa kids, for our educators, and for our economy, and we know how important public schools are after the past year, how important it is that they can function, that they can be in person, that they can offer good quality education to all of our children. We really need to put our money where our heart is if we say we care about these kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Trone Garriott. The chair recognizes Senator Cornbach.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. I served on the subcommittee for this bill, which was held just an hour and a half ago, and it was a very well-attended subcommittee meeting. 60, I think, at least people. When I looked at it, it might have been more signing up later. There were three themes that came across very, very clearly. First was that the percent of growth this year, 2.2%, is not adequate to meet schools' needs. We heard that from speaker after speaker after speaker. The second theme had to do with the property tax increase that will result from the inadequate allowable growth number. The property taxes will be increased in 141 districts statewide. That's almost half. That's 43% of the school districts across the state, including mine, will have their property tax raised as a result of the budget guarantee. The total statewide property tax increase, we calculated it at $28.6 million. $28.6 million. property tax increase. And the third theme that came across, a couple of other speakers have referred to it before, it's making the children of Des Moines the whipping boys for the dispute between the governor and the Des Moines school administration. Now, that to me is unconscionable. I understand that people on each side of this dispute believe that they are acting in the best interests. I have my preferred side of that argument, and I'm sure others will have the opposite side. But please, people, can't we set that aside? Fights between adults should not be visited by short funding the education of our children. And that's what this bill threatens to do. The children are the innocent ones here. They shouldn't be the ones who are punished. Last time I looked, Terrace Hill was in the Des Moines School District. So if the governor doesn't like the way the Des Moines School Board is operating, she can, like any other citizen, vote them out. And if the members of the school board don't like the way the governor is operating, well, they have an opportunity every 4 years to do likewise. Now, the good news on that dispute is that the Des Moines schools have developed a plan to come into full compliance over the year for the days and hours requirements for instruction. In fact, they have been in compliance since October or November. The speaker who conveyed that, by the way, was in fact the former Speaker of the Iowa House of Representatives, Republican Chris Rance. And what Mr. Rance conveyed to us was that they've pretty much worked out their differences. All right, in terms of delivering adequate education to the children of the Des Moines district. So I don't know what's left. The ego contest, the ruffled feathers, the whatever. Let's set that aside. Don't make the children of Des Moines the whipping boys for this spat between the political spat between adults who should know better. There were a few items in the bill that did garner support and praise. The continued assistance with transportation costs for our rural districts, I think that effort has had 100% bipartisan support over the last couple of years. It's a good effort, and we should continue it. But there's a lot in this bill that needs fixing. And I would hope that before we get to the floor, we can work something out so that we don't punish the kids, we don't raise the property taxes, and we do meet the educational needs of our young people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kornbach. The chair recognizes Senator Giddens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, rise in opposition of Senate Study Bill 1159, and I won't take a lot of time here in the committee today. I'll speak again on the floor when we debate it there. But in addition to this bill just simply being inadequate to support the needs of our local public school districts, I wanted to share an experience that I had as a school board member before I was elected to the Senate. I was a school board member in Cedar Falls, and we desperately needed a new high school. Our facility was inadequate and had been for a number of years. And the only way we could put together funding to build a new high school was to do a local referendum, which would impact our property taxes in the school district. And this happened to be at the same time that I was actually trying to get on the school board. So I was in this awkward position of trying to get on the school board at a time when increases in property taxes were the only thing on the minds of folks in my district when they thought of the local school district. So needless to say, most of the conversations I had, and I knocked on the doors of every active registered voter in my school district, the conversations were difficult and mostly focused on increased property taxes that would be realized as a result of us passing a school bond referendum. I made the case that our kids and our school district are important enough that we needed to invest in them, and was fortunate enough to be elected to the school board. And we went on after a few tries and eventually passed that school bond referendum. The reason it took multiple tries, though, is because it's deeply unpopular to raise property taxes for school districts. That is exactly what this bill will do. We know that by not addressing declining enrollment due to the pandemic, that 141 of our school districts will be on budget guarantee. We know, as Senator Cornbach noted, that will raise property taxes more than $28 million across the state. I represent 3 school districts in my Senate district, and it's a range of different types of school districts. The first one, Cedar Falls, where I live, has sort of suburban type characteristics. Waterloo, have the southwest part of Waterloo, more of an urban school district, and then the Hudson School District has a lot of rural characteristics. So I hear from people in all that range of types of school districts. They're all adamantly opposed to this, and many of the folks that I'm hearing from are the same folks that I talked to on the campaign trail when I was running for school board, who did not want to see their property taxes go up. Cedar Falls will be spared from the budget guarantee this time, but the other 2 school districts, Waterloo and Hudson, will have increases in property taxes that are triggered by the budget guarantee. Hudson, small school district, their property taxes will go up around $100,000 across the district, and the Waterloo School District will also be on budget guarantee. Their property taxes will go up $643,000 roughly. I just find it astounding that we're pushing more of a burden down to our local property tax payers through this bill when we have the means to support an adequate increase for our school districts at the state level. I wanted to share one line from an op-ed that was written in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on January 31st by Scott Ellison, who is an associate professor in the College of Education at UNI, which is in my district. He studies global and national trends in education policy. He says, if state leaders are serious about fostering substantive, positive change, then they should begin by ensuring that every school receives adequate and equitable funding, and then get out of the way. I agree with him. This bill is not adequate, it's not equitable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Giddens. The chair recognizes Senator Smith of Woodbury County.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm going to use my phone. I got a text from the superintendent of the district that I serve, Sioux City, and I had actually texted him, too, to see what he thought about the 2.2%. And you got to love school people. I'll jump to the last paragraph. It says, well, whatever we get, we will make work. But his major concern was the property taxes going up, and he just didn't see that being popular with Iowa voters. And quite honestly, the school board members that I talked to just didn't think 2.2% made much sense. I have prepared words. I'm just going to kind of give you a little summary because you don't want to hear me up here 2 or 3 times reading them. But, you know, this is the rub for me. It just seems like it's extreme to think that schools can improve by cutting their funding. I don't know how to square that circle. You know, we want schools to get better, but yet we had a voucher bill, we have an inadequate SSA,
And schools can't improve if they have less money to spend. So I'm going to delve into that a little bit deeper, some research I've done, but I oppose this, and I hope we can do better for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Seeing no further discussion, Senator Sinclair, you are in order for closing comments.
Thank you very much, Senator Taylor. I'm really only going to address one issue here in committee. Anything else I'll save for the floor. This bill increases funding to each and every student in the state of Iowa by $170 a year. Multiply that out for an average classroom of 20 or 25 kids, and it's a significant increase for every single classroom. But the one point that I want to make here, this bill is not about revenge. It is legitimately about meeting the needs of school districts who have had children in their classrooms, who have had to clean, who have had to provide for additional subs when teachers had to quarantine. They've had to change their transportation schedules so as to allow for social distancing on buses. And let's just be honest, if you don't have kids in classrooms, you don't have those expenses. It's not about revenge. It's about the practical way to best use the resources we have before us. And quite frankly, it's about holding accountable elected officials and the people that they appoint to do jobs who flagrantly violate Iowa code. An Iowa code, I might remind you, that if you were here last year, you voted for. Their unwillingness to educate those 31,000 children that you've asked me to think about, their unwillingness to educate them from August to November left it so that they did not have those additional costs that other districts did. And so I would just suggest this isn't about revenge. It's about using our dollars to the wisest use that we have, and about holding elected officials and the superintendent that they hired accountable for flagrant violations of the law. And with that, I would move Senate Study Bill 1159.
Senator Sinclair has moved passage of Senate Study Bill 1159. Senator Quirmbach, how would you like to vote? Yeah, thank you. The Secretary will record the vote.
Yes.
Senator Taylor.
Yes.
Senator Cornbach. No. Senator Carlin. Yes. Senator Selby.
Hold one moment, please. Let me just go back through. Senator Sinclair was a yes. Senator Taylor was a yes. Senator Cornbach was a no. Senator Carlin? Yes. Senator Carlin is a yes.
Senator Selby.
Senator Selby is a no.
Senator Knoyer. Yes.
Senator Knoyer is a yes.
Senator Giddens.
Senator Giddens is a no.
Senator Goodwin.
Yes. Senator Goodwin is a yes.
Senator Johnson. Yes.
Senator Johnson is a yes.
Senator Kreinberg.
Senator Kreinbrink is a yes.
Senator Rosenboom.
Yes. Senator Rosenboom is a yes.
Senator Smith, J.
Senator Smith is a no.
Senator Sweeney. Yes.
Senator Sweeney is a yes.
Senator Trone Garrett.
Senator Trone Garrett is a no.
Senator Zahn.
Yes. Senator Zahn is a yes.
10 yeas, 5 nays.
The bill passes and will move to the calendar under Rule 40. I will now turn the chair back to Senator Sinclair.
Thank you, Senator Taylor. We now are going to get on to the rest